The Heart of Darkness, 2.5 in our chats, our fireside chats on emotions. These are old emotions that are thrust down when a person was younger, and they come out erratically, and it's very puzzling to a non-therapist or non-observer, because they just come out of nowhere, and you're seeing two eyes, a nose, a mouth, the same hair and everything, but all of a sudden the person is switched into something that people will just call crazy. And one of the first impulses of just the normal run-of-the-mill person encountering this, I got to get the hell away from this person. They seem sticky. They're somewhere. I don't understand it. I just got to run. Close the door, leave the house, get away from them. Something is rotten in Denmark, as Shakespeare said. And so what a normal person will do is say, that person is squirrely, and make a generalization. Man, is that a sick person? But for the observer, we've got to learn that this person has just regressed and gone back in history somewhere. So we have to learn whereabouts in history they went, where there was a trauma. So what do we do with this erratic sachet? My wife was very good, Dix Gescheitel-Morris, in saying to a person, stay separate. I don't believe I was with her one day and doing therapy together that she didn't tell somebody to stay separate. Don't get hooked into their game. Stay separate. And so politely and socially, that's what we would teach. There's a much deeper way to teach, and since we're dealing with emotions, I want to show you the basic categories. Can you see this? There are three basic old traumas. Birth order, where somebody will be told, a 4-year-old will be told when a new baby comes along, now you are mommy's helper. Do you remember back when I said that the nurses surrendered to spec? Here we've got 9 nurses, 1 survived. And why did they all of them give in to this guy? Why did they let him tie him up? And the reason was there was a mama nurse who was mommy's little helper, and she told everybody, just be nice to him, give in, let him do this, he won't hurt us. And so she had a trauma in her head established when she was a child. Another thing that you see in birth order is the baby. A person that just wants to play, thinks the world is his gift store, and just doesn't take any responsibility. Play, play, play. It's wonderful. It's like all about me. Now the baby is often just love for being, and the parents will not make a demand that you also have to do. You got some jobs around this house too. You live here, you eat here. But instead they don't. The baby is the precious one who gets away with everything. I want to mention one other person in this birth order, and there are books on birth order and their later emotional result. And that is, there's an invisible child in a large family. Let's say 5 kids. The oldest, the baby. Somewhere in here there will be what I call the invisible child, who turns out to be a great observer. So in family therapy, this kid would come in with the whole family, and I would observe and see which one was ignored the most by the mother and the father. And I would ask that child, girl or boy, tell me about what goes on in your family. And the parents would look at this kid as the kid told exactly what went on in the family. Well, Daddy does this, and then Mommy does this, and Billy does this, and Jerry does this. The kid is a hell of an observer, but he is the invisible child. I'm going to move on to developmental real quickly. because some of the traumas that people will return to will be the last trimester. Now these people that you see in therapy are continually seeking a nest. They will make their home into a nest. They'll have piles of clothes everywhere. Their bed is just a mess, but they snuggle in. Some people will report in therapy when they open the box that there's occasional times that they will go back into the fetal position and stay in bed for 2 days, not eat. They will drink water, and just squirrel away to go back into the womb, the nest. Then there are developmental traumas around birth, where a kid was jerked out of the womb, or where the kid came out dry birth, and later hates his skin. That would be a very instructive thing. Will avoid touch. Some people with a birth trauma are very conscious about, say, the dates on cereal or the latest canned good date, and they will select that when they go to the grocery store. They're concerned about food. Then there's the attachment problem, where I said Joan had that concave sense where she said she was empty, and I had her check with her Aunt Ellen. Then there's the exploratory traumas, where a kid is not allowed to wander around and be curious about everything, crawl around, smell, taste water, smell everything, pick up a ball of fuzz on the rug, put it in his mouth. Instead, the mother or father locks the kid down, does not allow exploration. And this is an emotional issue. Now, these early ones, before age 2, are not conscious. They don't come with a decision. But the ones later, the person does think and make decisions. So there's a sense in which the ones I've previously mentioned are true victims. But what we have to do in therapy is move over, teach them, give them ego or adult material, so they begin to understand what their blockage is, where they're stuck developmentally. A 2-year-old, as I mentioned, with the mother that came in and said her son was a rebel and he was acting out and she didn't know what to do and could I help her. By the way, when somebody says, can you help me? It is very important I don't say, yes, here I am, super mouse, wearing the cape, I will save your life. I say, no, I can't help you, but you and I can help you. And you will be my partner in terms of you're getting back the pure soul that you had before all this screwed up stuff happened in your life. And then in 3, there's one more thing I'll mention developmentally, and that is the 3 to 6 developmental age, between age 3 and age 6, where a kid will become magical. They're also creative, but it's easy for them later in life when they come to therapy and see someone is to have magical solutions to everything. They think they're charmed. They think they can mind read. They think they can have a marvelous creative life when they may not have much creativity that they can express. So anyway, what I'm showing here is that there are old traumas in the personality. So now we have, oh, let me mention the third. The script. This is the most, I mean to tell you, we're at the back of the heart of darkness with this one. Because this is a plan that a person makes when they are young, and they live it out over and over and over and over and over and over till you as a therapist are ready to scream. Freud said, he mentioned the repetition compulsion, and that is absolutely true, because people in the script will go round and round and round, and round doing the same thing. And one reason is because they think that they did the right thing as a kid. And it's so familiar going around and round in that circle. And anybody that disagrees with them is nuts. And they're just lost in a deep rut, digging deeper and deeper and deeper as they go round and round and round. And people in my training groups who watch these videos will recognize that you could see this very clearly in somebody, where their life was repetition, over and over and over and over and over. They were destroying their identity and their relationships. Now, Richard Speck is a very easy example of script. What do I have here? I have the hated. He hated the guy, the two fathers who beat the hell out of him, raped him. The feared role was acting like his mother, the super sacrimonious, sacred type person. Sanctimonious was the word I was looking for. Who he hated that because he could see his mother just kind of worm around talking about God and Jesus and Christ and the Holy Spirit and the Bible and quoting Scripture. He hated that. I mean, he feared becoming like her. And then there is the adapted role where he was little Richard, who got brutalized day after day, week after week. And he did this acting out with people across the course of his life, and he did it in prison. So if you study Richard Speck, you'll see a very clear example of the script. Well, I don't want to burden you with a lot of data in terms of these old emotions, but if you're ever puzzled by somebody, I guarantee you that they are probably either in a phony one, a copied emotion, or here an old, repetitive, stuck place. And that, yes, it comes in sad, angry, and scared. Now, in these real heavy traumas, the heart of darkness, we don't have happy, excitement, tender. We have sad, angry, and scared. That's where a person will go round and round and round. I hope I'm boring you by saying round and round and round, because it drives you nuts when the person goes round and round and round in a circular manner, repetition, and never even recognize it. If you say something, they think something's wrong with you. So, oh my, therapists have their hands full dealing with this. As for normal people, stay separate, as my wife said. Now, what I have said, and I said in the last chapter, brings up a little question about determinism and freedom. Because some people will say, well, Freud was deterministic. He thinks we just repeat everything from childhood and don't have any freedom at all. Watch out for these things of determinism or freedom, or nature or nurture, these little bipolar things that people like to swing around on. It's both. We are determined and we are free. And for Richard Speck, for instance, I think he was able to use this brain, and this brain has 100 billion neurons, capable of trillions of interconnections, jumps across the synapses. He was capable of not killing those people. So I disagreed with the psychoanalyst trial of Richard Speck, who talked about the determinism of his childhood. He should only get life imprisonment. Personally, I happen to think that he should have been put in the gas chamber, because we have to keep responsibility. So yes, we have determining factors, but we are responsible for our acts in society. And the question of decision gets to be very critical in doing psychotherapy, because we'll say to somebody locked in one of these traumas, And what did you decide when your mother said you're going to be her mommy's little helper? What did you decide when you were a baby and being treated like a golden child? What did you decide when you were invisible, and how does that affect your life now? What did you decide when you were 2 years old and figured out that you could show anger and manipulate your mother? What did you decide when you were a 4-year-old and your father left the home and you got all magical? How do you set up these fantastic scenarios in your mind? So we work for decision, and in the script, what do you keep deciding in terms of going round and round and round and round and round and over again? Trust I'm boring you, and in just a second I'm going to stop. But I want to add that there is hope that we can return someone back to the beauty of soul of a child. And don't give up hope. We can beat these things. And with my wife and I, we had full confidence. If somebody kept coming and working on their personality, they would reach back and discover the beauty that Dr. Paul Bloom talked about in Just Babies, that essence that is very good.